In the headlines tonight,
to regulate fees payable by the various schools, preferably before the beginning of the next schooling year.
Colin North Member of Parliament Samuel Akuti petitioned the Education Committee of Parliament to oppose the manner in which schools are hiking school fees whenever they wish. General David Sejusa and General Andrew Guti, the ex-court martial chairman, are among dozens of generals who have retired from the UPDF.
And those brought to the Tallying Center are different.
Also, the hearing of a petition in which Raila Odinga challenges the victory of William Ruto in the recent Kenyan elections kicks off in the Kenyan Supreme Court. And in sports, the Uganda under-19 women's cricket team that will participate in the international cricket competition leaves for Botswana tomorrow. A very good evening and thank you for staying with us and welcome to CTV PM Edition. My name is Agi Oase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Now today is the 31st of August 2022. Well, kickstarting off tonight's edition, Colin North Member of Parliament Samuel Akuti has petitioned the Education Committee of Parliament to oppose the manner in which schools are hiking school fees. The MP was directed by the Speaker Anita Among to submit his petition to the committee after the MP had tabled it in Parliament. He wants government to regulate school dues to save education sector from ruthless business people who own and are in the education sector only to maximize profit. Let's take a look.
Opio told the committee chaired by the Bunyaruguru MP John Twesigye Ntamuhire that it's unpleasing that most of the government-aided schools are also hiking fees prices, yet they are funded to fairly serve Ugandans.
The Ministry of Education expedites the enactment of statutory regulations to regulate fees payable by the various schools, preferably before the beginning of the next schooling year in 2023. Provisions should be made for consultation with the parents during a general meeting on the fee structure before any increment and charges are made.
Opio wants the Ministry of Education to expedite the enactment of statutory regulations to regulate fees that are supposed to be charged in schools. He further asked government to offer bursary schemes at district level to support secondary education.
The Ministry of Education suspends any increase in school fees for the third term. As I've indicated, it was earlier on what was planned, but you can see from the headlines of today, schools increase fees ahead of third term. The increases have already taken place without any due consideration of the ministerial directives that were issued on the first term. I pray that action is taken so that these irresponsible increases in school fees can be addressed.
MPs on the committee applauded their colleagues, saying that schools have a tendency to hike school fees every new term because nobody regulates them when it comes to fees.
Which are not core. Some schools have included the money for swimming pools, constructing of swimming pools. They have included the money for buying buses for schools. They have put some spices for food. I just don't understand. But also important, colleagues, when you lift the veil and you see the directors and owners of some of these schools, a big number is from the Ministry of Education, the commissioners and other people in the Ministry of Education.
There's a lot of money sunk there by government that for education, but children from Karamoja region don't get quality education. They end up in the streets of different towns. They end up being smuggled. Their organs are traded. And then security spend a lot of money to bring them back. So my request is that Education Committee should look at the country holistically.
Twesigye, the committee chairperson, says the high school fees hikes are causing the high rate of school dropouts, leading many young people to run away and work as casual laborers in the Arab world.
I agree with members who have said that we need to take action as Parliament. This is the time, because all of us around this country, we are suffering the same problem, even in my own constituency, in Bunyaruguru in Rubirizi district. As I talk now, Parents are struggling. They don't know whether children will go back to school or not.
Twesija says the committee will inspect all schools in some parts of the country to know why they don't have any mercy towards learners and their parents.
So I would think that as a committee, like what Honorable Macho was saying and other members, we need to take action now. Then two, we need to, as a matter of urgency, call back the Minister of Education. The Minister of Education released a statement. I think it was after they had issued a statement about COVID issues that no school fees increment. What has the technical arm of the ministry done in as far as following up the matter is concerned?
Sarah Nakandi for CTV PM Edition.
Now, government has renewed its promise to curb the ongoing inflation in the country with a number of measures already in place. According to officials from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the situation is under control.
The country grapples with high fuel prices that triggered skyrocketing commodity prices, inflation and rising public debt. Government officials say the situation will not go out of hand. The Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Ramadan Gobi, says what hit the country was a global phenomenon due to COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war. He says the global supply of commodities and raw materials was severely disrupted. He says government has used evidence-based approach and good fiscal and economic policies to address the challenges despite criticism from the civil society.
We avoided measures that could lead to longer-run distortions. These are the ones which I was talking about. That common sense can tell you, if you provide subsidies to buyers of fuel, you will support them to access fuel at affordable prices. That is wrong economics. The best policy to respond is to ensure that the low supply of goods corresponds to low demand of those goods. That's why government has managed expenditure now.
Are the responses currently we are following, are they likely to get us out of these shocks and recover our economy? I think for me is that we need much more than what we are doing. So whereas the Bank of Uganda has increased the CBI rate so that we cannot borrow more money from the banks. And the Ministry of Finance has also cut expenditure so there is less money in circulation to deal with inflation. For me, I think one of the things we need to do is first invest heavily in production.
This was during a forum by the International Growth Center in partnership with the Finance Ministry to share and find solutions that would boost economic growth. Gobi says Ugandans need not to worry about Uganda's public debt because it's manageable as per Uganda's fiscal charter.
That's why we need to start looking at the debt service more than the debt to GDP. So how much of the revenue we collect is spent on servicing the debt?
Government has hopes to increase domestic revenue to help address a number of financial challenges. Although revenue is still low, however, civil society activists think this is not sustainable.
In order to finance public investment, Uganda is going to have to mobilize more tax revenue. Tax revenues as a share of GDP are actually quite low relative to other countries with similar per capita income to Uganda. Tax revenues are necessary to finance public investment.
And the question I always ask is, for us as farmers, when and if you have a cow and it is a milking cow, you do not joke with your milking cow. There's no way you can say, I want more milk from this cow, so I'll bring a better milker as in a person who milks the cow. Instead, what you do is you bring more feed for this cow so that you can get more milk. So I've always wondered if it has ever occurred to everybody who is interested in taxes that instead of building URA, it would be much better if they built the private sector.
The country recently experienced tragic flash floods in Mbale. The country has been advised to take the issue of climate change with keen interest because it has disrupted output and production.
We are not investing enough in climate change. Why do I say so? Is when I see my government licensing companies in free zones in wetland areas, then it gives a signal to all other private players also to invest in wetlands. And as such, I think government must put a stop to that and reclaim these particular areas.
Victoria Sechitoleko, the former Minister of Agriculture, trashed government's move to merge the Uganda Coffee Development Authority again with the Ministry of Agriculture, saying this is going to have a problematic result to the coffee sector.
Emphasis is being given to coffee. So I'm wondering, did our government listen to that? Is that why they are thinking we close UCDA? Since Maif is moving at snail speed, we take UCDA there so that we slow them down a bit. We have never sold 8 million bags of coffee in a year. Now we are there, we have just got them there, and to say thank you to UCDA, we shift them off to Maif. Some of these things I don't understand, but then again, I'm an old woman.
The judiciary has recorded success in handling thousands of cases in the 2021-2022 financial year compared to the 2020-2021 financial year. He was at the launch of the judiciary annual report. We have more.
So the Honorable Chief Justice is launching the report. According to Chief Justice Alfonso Owunyidolo, 205,967 cases were disposed of out of 373,974 cases which were registered. He says there was tremendous improvement in the handling and disposal of cases compared to 2020 and 2021. Magistrate courts recorded the highest number of disposed cases that stood at 71%.
The improved coverage of the judiciary at this rank has reduced case backlog from 5,085 out of 27,286. There were 27,286 cases pending in the grade 1 courts, out of which 5,000 had taken more than 2 years, so they were backlog.
According to the Chief Justice, the enhanced disposal of cases can be attributed to a number of internal changes that include increased staffing, among others.
Immediately on deploying the increased number of magistrates grade 1, the backlog was reduced from 5,000 to 2,000. In one financial year, actually they operated for less than a financial year because of the problem of recruitment. They did not even operate for 12 months. But in the few months, about 6 or thereabout, they operated, they reduced the backlog from 5,085 to 2,602.
Owunyidolo, the Chief Justice, also highlighted other items that they have handled during the financial year 2021 and 2022.
So from 42 chief magistrates in this country, we were able to recruit more. Now we have 77 chief magistrates in this country. We have therefore been able to open new magistrate areas to operationalize new magistrate areas in Dokolo, Mayuge, Sironko, Katakwi.
However, he said, they are still facing a number of challenges, especially case backlog.
In the Supreme Court, we have 335 cases out of 686 pending cases. So 335 are backlog, that is 49%. It's not very good, 49%. Half of the cases are backlog.
Death threats towards judicial officers and disrespect of court orders is another challenge that the judiciary is still facing, according to Dolo.
Attempts or actual attacks have been made on judicial officers over the years. Now, there is a new form of threat when a judicial officer stands up against corruption. Those who think they can come and lead judicial officers into temptation against the Lord's Prayer, the one Jesus taught us. Then when you stand your ground, they begin going around to say, that one is a corrupt judicial officer. To taint your name, you know, they want to really adulterate your character. Oh, that one is corrupt.
The judiciary budget for 2019 and 2020 financial year which was standing at 181 billion, was increased to 376 billion in the year 2021-2022 and subsequently to 381.88 billion for the 2022 and 2023 financial year. Justice and Constitutional Affairs Minister Norbert Mao applauded the judiciary for the objectives done to ensure that justice is served.
You have changed the skyline. In a country where projects take ages to be completed, even where there is money. Now you, the ladies and gentlemen in gowns, are presiding over building projects that are actually being finished on schedule. That's a miracle.
For every Ugandan to attain justice, the judiciary has asked the executive to strengthen the investigations department and the Directorate of Public Prosecution by funding them. Flavian Nkuze for CTV, PM Edition.
For the Judiciary Council.
About 50 Army generals have officially retired. They were retired at a function that was held at State House in Entebbe. President Museveni, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, presided over the event. General David Sejuse, who has on several occasions been blocked from retiring, has finally retired. Now, following his fallout with the Army leadership, he has not been receiving his salary from the UPDF since 2013. Sejuse at one time dragged the government to court for refusing to pay his salary. General Eli Tumwine, who was buried yesterday, was also retired posthumously. Other generals who retired: Lieutenant General Prosi Nalweso, Lieutenant General John Mugume, ex-Court Martial Chairman Lieutenant General Andrew Guti, Major General Stephen Kashaka, Major General Joram Kakari, and Major General Fenhas Kaitirima. Others are Major General Eli Kayanja, Major General Geoffrey Muhesi, Major General Burundi Nyamunywani, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, the Permanent Major General Chomukama Kasura, Major General Michael Odonga, Major General Gavas Mujenyi, and Major General Octavius Buturo, among others. Now, the Regulation 28 Cap 307 of the Terms of Service specifies at which age an officer should be promoted to another rank, and if this does not happen, he or she is retired. From the rank of lieutenant to captain, one can apply for early retirement at 40 years of age, while a major can leave service at 45 years of age. A lieutenant colonel in the UPDF can retire at 47, while a colonel's retirement age is 51. Well, congratulations to all the majors and the generals who have actually retired, from serving this country, and definitely we commend them for the great effort that they have done in the past. Well, CTV PM Edition takes a short break and we'll be right back with more stories. Do stay with us.
The big debate is back. Bigger, bolder, reloaded. Whether it is securing your future, holding fast to the people power, or the promise of a one Uganda, one thing is certain: the big debate is on.
So why don't you respect the memories of doctors for this? We have already addressed the issue of increment.
How many people have ever been convicted?
Okay.
It's the way the politics plays in cabinet.
So now why are they asking for the statement?
Follow mainstream conversations on current affairs and leading policy debates in Uganda.
It is in our interest to handle arrested people very nicely.
Right here on The Big Debate.
Let me finalize this. I was quiet. I was quiet.
It's a hard-hitting talk show on development issues in the political and social-economic arena. Discussions that inform policy and trigger high-level dialogue. Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Sometimes in life, we spend all the time trying to live other people's life. And along the way, we lose who we are by copying what other people are doing in their relationship.
You see, from the last time I met your sister, I've not spent a day or a minute without thinking about her.
It's a good surprise on a Monday. This is nice.
So you and him are we're just friends.
Wow.
Come on.
Just friends.
You either tell me where you're from or you go back to where you've been.
Thinking it would work out for us, but yet to find out that's not who we are after experiencing a great disappointment.
She's in love with some other man, so classy, a gentleman, not bulldogs like you.
These are the mistakes girls do.
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back and thank you so much for watching CTV PM Edition with me, Agi Uwase, and Isaac Luchamzi on sign language. Now moving on, the Supreme Court starts the hearing of Raila Odinga's petition challenging the outcome of Kenya's recent general elections. Odinga, among other issues, wants court to scrutinize ballot papers in 45 presidential election ballot boxes from 15 polling station kicks. We have more.
In submissions made at the Supreme Court today, Julie Soweto, a lawyer in Azmir legal team, alleges that 4,463 votes were deducted from her client and added to William Ruto, the president-elect in Bombay, Kiambu, Kakamega, Nairobi and Baringo counties. She also urged that there were inconsistencies in 41 forms 34A from Bombay, Kiambu and Kakamega given to agents and what is in the IEBC portal, adding that what was submitted at the National Tallying Center at Bomas of Kenya was different. It's alleged that IEBC procured 2 sets of forms 34A. It was intended that only booklet 1/1 would be used at polling stations, while 2/2 would be stored in a tamper-proof envelope.
That in 41 forms from the polling stations that she looked at, the forms 34A received by the petitioner's agents vis-a-vis the forms 34A uploaded in the IBC portal and those brought to the tallying center are different.
Celestine Anyango is one of the witnesses. In her affidavit, shows deliberate mischief in the use of forms. Before her, senior counsel James Orengo, who is also in Mr. Odinga's legal team, urged that the IEBC is a dysfunctional and cannot carry out an election. He also urged that the forms were tampered with. In totality, the discrepancies accounted for more than 140,000 votes, and this impacted the results of the elections as delayed. In asking the court to nullify the election outcome announced by the IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati, he also brought up the matter of the national voter turnout as announced by electoral agency. He also told court that Chebukati is known in making errors because in 2017, court discovered he issued a communique that the total voter turnout at 4 p.m. nationwide was over 56%. As the hearing process is going, also the scrutiny of 45 presidential election ballot boxes from 15 polling stations kicked off on Wednesday at the Supreme Court Sub-Registry at Florida House in Milimani. The exercise is being undertaken under supervision of IEBC and Supreme Court Registrar. Lawyers of the IEBC, Chairman Wafula Chebukati, Commissioners Raila Odinga and William Ruto are present to witness the exercise. Currently, they are tallying and scrutinizing ballot boxes from Movita constituency, Mombasa County. There is also heavy presence of the police drawn from GSU, Administration Police and Kenya Police Services. Court will deliver its verdict on Monday next week.
Border riders in Kampala have expressed dismay over the slow pace at which KCCA officials are registering their motorcycles. They say the gazetted locations where registration is taking place are being manned by few personnel compared to the big number of border riders who wanted to beat today's deadline.
Daniel Semuju is a border rider. He is among the dozen of riders who turned up at Makerere University Primary School to register his motorbike on the last day of the exercise. Semuju is, however, dissatisfied over KCCA's failure to have an efficient and effective registration process.
The thing is that they assured us that this is right, and even the messages we are receiving are from KCCA. So that's why we are looking at this as at least this is the right thing. The other one was not right, but we don't know who is going to refund us our money, because me, myself, I registered from the other side and even this side. So who is going to refund us our money?
To him, riders had lost the morale to register after paying 65,000 shillings for training, a registration that was earlier communicated by police and Minister of Transport.
It's a government failure because they told us to first go to Chira Road. We paid 65,000 to register from there. Then they told us that that is a wrong process. So some of us, we even lost morale to come here. We thought that it would be the same as it was to the other side.
To beat the August 31st deadline that was earlier set by KCCA, more riders gathered at different gazetted locations amidst delays at the centres.
Bansabye barua ya chairman, mbadde wa mukisa chairman ninkerayo n'agimpa, ne bansaba obufaananyi bubiri nabo mbadde mbuyina, nenzijja wano nensanga nga layini mpanvu. Naye nyambiddwa ne mbeera mu layini, kati wentuuse nvuddemu era ninze process okundaga nti babitadde mu kompyuta era wendi wano kyalinze.
Sisuubira nti kiina engeri gye kisobola okukendeeza nze nganze kuba obumenyi bw'amateeka we buli wamu, si mu booda mukka. Okugamba nti twewandiise nze kyensuubira oba kulongoosaako kko kubeera nti naffe oba tutongozeddwa.
Toyinza kuteekawo omuntu omu nga yawandiika abantu abasukka n'ebikumi 300. Ffe buli ssaawa emu etuyitako tuba tuli mu kkola. Kati kitegeeza bino bifuuse bya ssindi.
Recently, the Minister for Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamale, and the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA Engineer David Luimbazi said the move is to regulate the border industry in the city for security reasons.
The National Security Council, way back in 2019, gave some guidelines. After there is the heightened crime being committed by the within the border industry, they gave some guide on what a border rider should have while on the road. So following that guide and also looking at how the industry is being managed, we have been working with the KCCA to do the necessities.
According to the 2021 police traffic report, a total number of 1,918 riders and passengers died in border accidents, and on a daily basis, at least 5 people die in border accidents across the country. KCCA wants to establish the numbers of the border riders in the city. The authority plans to allow only 7,000 border riders to operate in the central business district to create order in the city centre. Safi Mokele Balogu and Chris Semale Musemakula for CTV PM Edition.
Now, in a regional news tonight, South Sudan's former rebels have sworn an oath of loyalty to the government in a ceremony that was held under tight security. While in Libya, 5 migrants have died and 16 are missing in the Mediterranean. Let's take a look. Thousands of former rebels swore an oath of loyalty in a ceremony held under tight security in South Sudan. Nearly 22,000 men and women drawn from the main parties, as well as South Sudan Opposition Alliance, participated in Tuesday's proceedings, which were originally scheduled to take place in 2019, according to the peace deal. South Sudan's President Salva Kiir praised the progress made. He said that out of all the chapters of the agreement, the graduation of the unified forces under Chapter 2 has been the most challenging and yet the most important. Riek Machar, the vice president and opposition leader, say that over 200 soldiers have died in the 18 training centers, while some died because of disease and lack of medication and hunger since food was not available. The UN representative in the country also praised the new developments. Nicholas Haysom, a special representative of the Secretary General and head of UNMISS, say that a unified defense force is one of the most visible and meaningful expression of national unity, especially in societies emerging from conflict. He said that its establishment will, on account of its inclusivity and diverse representation, symbolize the national identity of South Sudan. Libya is considering a new law which will allow for the protection of migrants and asylum seekers in Libya. This comes after a series of incidents where illegal migrants have lost lives at sea and some through unknown circumstances. A boat with 27 migrants on board, all Egyptians, capsized off Tolmeta, an official in the local rescue unit told the news agency, without specifying when the boat had capsized. He said 5 bodies have been recovered, 6 people have been rescued, while the other 16 are missing and presumed dead. A source said that the boat was 35 kilometers from the coast in a rocky area with difficult access, which made it difficult for the rescue team to get there. The chaos that followed the fall of Muammar Gaddafi's regime in 2011 has made Libya a preferred route for tens of thousands of migrants from the sub-Saharan Africa, Arab countries, and South Asia seeking to reach Europe via the Italian coast. These migrants fall prey to traffickers when they do not die attempting the perilous crossing of the Mediterranean, and Libya is regularly criticized by NGOs for the ill treatment they receive. And elsewhere in the world, a 20-month-old child has died in Spain after being struck on the head by a hailstone, while in Taiwan has fired warning shots for the first time to drive back drones that flew over its outlying island near China. We have more. A 20-month-old child has died in Spain after being struck on the head by a hailstone. About 50 other people reported injuries ranging from bruises to bone fractures from the freak 10-minute-long storm that hit the Girona region in Catalonia on Tuesday evening. It destroyed roofs, downed power cables, and shattered windows as well. One of the hailstones measured 4 inches in diameter, Catalonia's meteorological service said. In the largest to rain down in the region since 2002, firefighters received more than 40 calls from members of the public about damage caused by Tuesday's storm, mostly from the town of Bisbal. One of the stones hit the 20-month-old child, who was transferred to a hospital in the nearby city of Girona, but later died from her injuries, a local channel reported. Local officials have now reissued violent weather alerts, warning residents that more large hailstones could rain down on the coastal area. According to advice from Catalonian service, hailstorms can occur throughout the year, but are most frequently recorded between March and September. An unusually hot summer has meant the nearby Mediterranean Sea is warmer than usual from this time of the year, making violent tropical storms more likely. Taiwan has fired warning shots for the first time to drive back drones that flew over its outlying islands near China. Taiwan's defense ministry said the 3 drones were seen flying back towards the Chinese mainland. Taipei has in the recent weeks complained of Chinese drones flying close to its islets near the Chinese mainland. Cross-strait tensions remain high after the U.S. politician Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan earlier this month. Taiwan has reported an increase in drone incursions after China launched huge military drills in a show of the force after Mrs. Pelosi's visit. President Tsai Ing-wen has labeled some of the drone missions which have flown over military outposts as a type of gray zone warfare activity. The Kinmen Defense Command said 3 civilian drones were spotted on Tuesday evening in Aden, and Shiu, 3 Kinmen islets that are just a few kilometers away from the Chinese city of Xiamen. It added that it fired warning flares before firing a live round over a returning drone. The drones eventually headed towards Xiamen. PM Edition takes a short break, but we'll be right back with more stories in the world of sports. Do stay with us. Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy.
You go? If I had to live everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up?
The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be her life again.
I will break you, Spooky. Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. Use your brain!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink. CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back to CTV PM Edition. I'm Agi Uwase with Isaac Luchamzi in Sign Language. Now moving on to the world of sports, the Uganda Under-19 women's cricket team that will play and participate in the international cricket competition for the very first time was flagged off today at the Lugogo Cricket Oval. The team will take part in the inaugural Women's ICC World Cup T20 qualifiers in Botswana that starts on the 1st of September until September the 13th.
The Under-19 girls cricket national team that was flagged off today by National Council of Sports will be among the 9 national teams that will take part in the first edition of the ICC World Cup T20 qualifiers in Garabon, Botswana. The team that has been in camp in Entebbe for a month is guided by head coach Yusuf Nanga and his assistant Ivan Kakande. Nanga is confident that the girls will put in a good display due to their experience.
Most of these girls have played at school level. They have played in our national league, so they have the playing experience. It's the reason as to why they were selected to come and represent the country. We chose the best out of the many that we had, and we hope for the best out of them.
The team flies out on Thursday. Nanga says much as they are ready, they will not take anything for granted since it's the first time for every country that is participating.
We are playing against 9 opponents who are all competing for one slot for Africa in the first ever Under-19 Ladies World Cup. So we are not taking anything for granted. We are ready for everyone. Everyone is ready. Everyone has been preparing, and they're all there as competitors.
The Under-19 girls team will be captained by Jimia Mohammed, who is one of the only 2 players on the team to have played for the senior national team, the Victoria Pearls. Mohammed says they are raring to go, and she is positive that they will qualify for the World Cup.
We believe in ourselves. So with the training that we have had, I believe we shall put 100%. We shall not be scared of anything. Cricket is all mental. So I believe we shall make it on the team and we shall make Uganda proud.
The tournament will bring together 9 countries including hosts Botswana, Malawi, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Tanzania and Uganda. Uganda is in Group B alongside Botswana, Namibia and Sierra Leone. The team that will finish at the summit of the qualifiers will book a ticket to represent Africa at the World Cup 2023, which will take place in South Africa. Noah Walakira, CTV, PM Edition.
We've come to the end of CTV PM Edition, but coming up is the big debate, and Gabriel Iguma is on standby. Good evening, Gabriel.
Good evening. I see you're having
I
some
almost said good
interruption
morning.
from the morning show.
Well, what is the topic of discussion tonight?
Well, millions of Ugandans have been waiting to receive the parish development model money. For many of them, the money has not come in the quantities they were expecting. So today, we're going to explore what's happening with the parish development model.
Very exciting. And also, I'm very curious, and for the benefit of the viewer out there, who are the panelists tonight?
Well, we have 3 panelists. We have a former member of Parliament, former Minister, Honorable Chiwanda. We have 2 people from civil society, Jen Nalunga from Siatini, and then Mr. Julius Kapwepwe, who happens to be a technical advisor for PDM. So it's an interesting panel.
I surely know it's going to be interesting, but we'll definitely wish you a great discussion tonight.
Thank you.
Well, that winds up what we had for you on CTV PM Edition tonight. Have a good night and God bless you.